Hello, Galaxy. I'm Chris Pirillo, and do not adjust your screen unless, of course, it needs adjusted. One, I really am this white. And two, I'm wearing the same hoodie as I wore yesterday. I used to wear this all the time. I still kind of wear it all the time. In fact, I've worn it so many times that a while back, someone actually made this of me. That's how that's how many days in a row I wore this hoodie. It's so comfortable. I love this time of year, autumn. New devices, oh yeah, and hoodies. Star Wars hoodies, my favorite. But that's not the reason you tuned in. The reason you tuned in to watch me do an iPhone 8 Plus comparison against the... Where's the title? Pixel 2 XL. Now, in case you're wondering, I actually held up the Pixel 2 XL here and the iPhone 8 Plus here. Just wanted to show you I have both these devices, and I'm going to talk through my software experiences by and large. I mean, yeah, maybe we'll get into a bit of the hardware nitty-gritty, but quite honestly, that would make me sound like every other person out there who's done these kind of comparisons. I thought that instead of shooting this and recording it and then putting it online and not doing it live, we'd do it live. Because I like doing things live. It gives me a chance to interact with everybody out there. You can ask questions, specifically in relation to this particular topic. We also have the Discord chat, which you can join 24/7. It's easy to do. Either head over to twitch.tv/Chris Pirillo or patreon.com/Chris Pirillo. Become a Twitch sub of mine or a patron of mine. You'll get access to Discord chat open 24/7. I'm aiming to make it open 24/5, but I'm sorry. 25/7. I'm not... Okay, just so you know, there's probably going to be no math on this test here that I'm about to play out, and I will not be doing a comparison of the calculator apps, which apparently Apple's having an issue with, though that has been patched in an upcoming public beta of iOS 11.2. So that said, let's go ahead and begin with the software. I am running the Android 8.1 beta, developer beta, which is pretty much like a public beta, here on the Pixel 2 XL. It does not yet have some software updates, which Google has promised within the next few weeks. So I'm going to stop short from giving it a full-on review here, but I am comparing that to my iPhone 8 Plus, which I have been running on the iOS 11.1 beta, and we're pretty much close to the final version of that particular beta. And so I'm giving them a fair shake. They're both running beta software, the latest platforms available for the two. But quite honestly, when it comes down to it, the difference between those two is not... incredibly dramatic in terms of my experience. So let's go ahead and see if we have no super chats. No super chats. No one's broken that yet in terms of like breaking the ice and allowing super chats to flow. I'm going to start with the Pixel positives. One, YouTube by and large has been better on Android with background updates, picture-in-picture. I really like that. And given that my workflow tends to be record a video on a smartphone and then upload it directly from the smartphone if I'm not streaming live. And I really like the way the YouTube app works on Android. Now, that is a third-party app. I get it. But the thing is, it still plays into my productivity. And the deciding factor for me between these two devices really boils down to productivity. Not gaming, which I don't do a lot of. I'm not going to do a cut-the-rope test, if you remember that from the old Surface RT review. I really feel that, I look at these devices like productivity machines. Which one is enabling me to be more productive? And YouTube is certainly a part of that. YouTube definitely has problems as an app. The live streaming experience leaves a lot to be desired on both of the devices. I tried it last night on the Pixel 2 XL, and I streamed that live into the Geek Family Fun channel. If you didn't join us for a nice family dinner, that's exactly what happened. We had fun doing dinner with everybody. Everybody gets to eat dinner. At least I hope, and that's what I'm going to do after I finish this video. Another thing I really liked about the Pixel 2 XL experience in general, as well as its the accessories that came in the box, is fast charging. So the fast charging adapter, having it included, is awesome. Like, I don't have to spend any more money to get a fast charging adapter and a compatible cable. I actually appreciated that greatly. It really is nice to have. I could use that fast charging adapter with the iPhone 8 Plus if I so desired. I don't know if I would. But another thing I liked is specifically in the software sometimes, and I don't know how this trips or when it triggers or fires, but with the Pixel 2 XL, you plug it in, it says, hey, I'm fast charging. I'm like, cool, so now I know you are fast charging. But then sometimes it'll tell you only 22 minutes until it's fully charged. I'm like, wow. So it lets you know how long you have until it's fully charged. See, it's a nice little software tweak that I appreciate. It's nice. That's the kind of thing that I really noticed, that level of attention to detail. In terms of the pictures that I've taken, and you've probably seen a few of these circulating in social. I've shared them on Facebook. I've shared them on Twitter. I've not yet done a camera shootout, between these two, and like, here's a picture I took here and a picture I took here, because it takes a lot of production, and I don't really have the perfect software to do that. So I'm just going to let you know that by and large, the Pixel's photos were spectacular in terms of sharpness, in terms of clarity, in terms of surfacing detail, in terms of relative color accuracy that would be compared to, the iPhone 8 Plus, which tends to skew on the more saturated side. But it was specifically the sharpness and the level of detail that I saw surfaced in the photos that I took that just blew me away. I took a photo that I did upload to Twitter, although it unfortunately compressed it when uploading, such that you could actually see the fabric pattern in Jedi's bow last night, yesterday when I took a picture of her standing among the leaves. That was the tweet from yesterday. It was really kind of breathtaking. I was like, wow, that's amazing. HDR is always on, and I took an HDR shot with the iPhone 8 Plus to compare, and you didn't have the same level of detail surfaced over and over again, not in just that one example. But I really like the shots that the Pixel takes. I trust the shots that the Pixel takes more than I trust the shots that the iPhone takes. True story. Not just maybe with accuracy, but specifically knowing that I just only need to take one picture, and then I'm good, and then I'm happy. That's what I want. Just one picture, and I'm happy. So I found more often than not the Pixel 2 took photos perfectly the first time. So that's what I've been looking for all these years and using the iPhone. So I would say advantage definitely to the Pixel device on that. Now, I do have quite a few people who have tuned in for this live broadcast. You do have a chance to ask questions, as does the chat behind me, Discord. But if you want your questions to rise above the rest, Super Chat is the way to do it. You press the Super Chat button right there on your YouTube page, and then I will see your comment and be able to address it as I, of course, continue along. You never know what's going to happen with the chat room there. Really. You kind of know what's predictable in the YouTube comments, though. Photos tend to have a wider angle on the Pixel, which stands to reason because it does have a wider angle lens. So it was nice not just with the selfie camera, I guess that's what we'll call it now, as well as the outward-facing camera. It was that I did not have to step as far away from the subject to get more into the field of view. And I wouldn't say there was much distortion on the edges. Not that I was taking shots that would have surfaced distortion. Like if you've ever seen like an array of people lined up and you take a picture and then the people on the end kind of look weird. It never ran into that problem because I don't take pictures of people. Problem solved on any one of these cameras, really. But I found that it was very nice to have a wider angle on the Pixel device. We do have our first super chat. Deduplicant says, "Hi Chris, keep up the good work." Thank you. Not really a question, but I'm happy to keep up the good work as I move along. Portrait mode. So this is a thing that apparently is a thing. Why is portrait mode a thing? I have to ask. Why is it a thing? It's kind of gimmicky. Or, so I thought. And I have to basically qualify that by saying that I still don't think portrait mode is perfect. But I will tell you, in my experience, for the most part, I think the shots that I've taken have come out at a more satisfactory level by sometimes a wide margin. I like the shots that the Pixel takes in portrait mode versus the shots that the iPhone 8 Plus takes in portrait mode, for the most part. And there's certainly not a perfect scenario on either device. But when I was doing side by sides, it was really obvious to me. Not only does the Pixel handle the portrait mode in software and can continue to be tweaked and will continue to be tweaked, but it also allows you to do portrait mode from the front-facing camera. You can do that on another iPhone, just not the iPhone 8 Plus. So it really is outstanding. Like in terms of that, you'd love to see the side by sides. Yeah, Zach, I do post them in social. Just follow me on Twitter at Chris Pirillo is the best way to do it. At some point, maybe in the near future, as soon as I can get time to breathe, I'll try to do a dedicated video that won't be nearly as extensive as the last one I did. So the only other way of doing it is effectively shooting it live to tape. And it's not as easy to do when you've got a photo here and a photo there and people want to see the side-by-sides. It's not as easy as it could be. So the portrait mode, if you're interested in the portrait mode gimmick, I'm telling you, everything that I've done, it seems to point to the Pixel 2 as a winner. So you may complain and say, well, it only has one lens on either side. Well, it can't be good because 2 is better than 1. That's exactly what you sound like if you say that. Well, 2 is not always better than 1. In certain situations, it is. In other situations, not so much. You may say, well, Chris, but, I can tell a photo. Really? You can tell a photo? So can I. You know how? With my moment lenses, which, by the way, are interchangeable so long as you have a case for your phone. So I don't have the moment case on my Pixel 2 XL, but I could get a moment case for pretty much any one of the flagship phones that I have. And I have the macro lens, and I have the wide-angle lens as well, these attachments that, will work for the most part in those situations. Photos, in terms of the app, have a default HDR never needing to be retoggled, and I loved that. Still love that, adore that about Google software. The default camera app is always set to HDR. Yeah, you can turn on HDR enhanced, and honestly, I couldn't even tell you the difference between the two, apart from, an enhanced image. Or just regular default, always having it on. I haven't done any comparison shots between the two, because quite honestly, going HDR enhanced has made me a very happy person. And I could probably go, with just the non-enhanced HDR, but the fact that it's always on... The fact that it's always on is stellar. And I know that with iOS 11 on the iPhone 8 Plus, there is the opportunity to have that toggled so that you can always have HDR on. But unfortunately, what I found was, and this goes back to software, Apple hasn't quite figured out when HDR mode should be on. So unfortunately, HDR mode, even when it's set to auto on the iPhone 8 Plus, doesn't always shoot photos in HDR when I'd want them to shoot or be shot in HDR. With the Pixel software, with the camera app on the Pixel, you don't have to worry about it. It just works. And with Apple, not so much. So that is another positive in the Pixel column. In terms of the display when the device is off, yes, you can pick up the phone and you can see, with the iPhone, you can see, oh, there's all the notifications that I kind of have to wade through. And then you see the time and the other data. But what I like about the Pixel is that it's got an always-on display. I really like this a lot. Benefit, of course, from having an OLED screen, though the screen is not perfect. I've gone over that at length before now, too. So having the always-on display is very, very handy. It's that I can see how many notifications I have. I can see the date real quick. I can see the time. If it's sitting down, I don't have to pick up the phone to take a look and see what all the data that I may want to get to without interacting with the device, without it actually draining battery. So I really like the always-on display. In fact, I would hope, oh, look at that. I got a new notification that came in. So I don't have to unlock the device. It just tells me what I have, and I can actually take action on it in terms of notification, but it's not a big deal. I can double tap to wake up the display on the Pixel. All these features, go to saving battery life in terms of average use. And I really think that Google did a lot with the fit and finish of that. And by the way, thank you everybody for tuning in live. I know we have hundreds of you. Thanks again for remembering to click the like button or tap the like button, turning on notifications. Be aware that we're going to be streaming TLDR after this video over on the other YouTube channel, youtube.com/LockerGnome. So you can join us over there to ask questions about anything, because it's an AMA every day in that direction. Need to take a sip, keep breathing, and move on. I appreciate having more control over the software, at least the design of the home screen on the Pixel, though certain things are not quite where I'd like them to be, not just in terms of layout, but specifically in terms of usability, in terms of actual use. But the nice thing is you can change what they call a launcher on Android and find one that basically fits you and then tweak that 7 ways from Sunday. So I'm using Action Launcher here, and Action Launcher it's really nice. I like Action Launcher a lot. Not just because the developer's constantly modifying it. Like I guess every 3 weeks he updates the Action Launcher to add new features, bug fixes, etc. But it's basically a very, very, very nice home screen to have. You know, I got an app drawer that I can configure. I can swipe over to get certain widgets without swiping over to another screen. It's nice. It's clean. It's simple. It's straightforward. It feels optimized more than anything. Moreover, when I have a bug report, I can actually tell the guy, and he'll actually look into it. And I've been talking about the weather widget, and it seems to be not as solid as it could be, like in terms of caching the data. But it's really something that I like. Out of all of the launchers I've tried, Action Launcher is absolutely tops in my book. And I know you're going to say Nova. I was a Nova fan until I found Action Launcher. Zach Berjawi says, could you please detail the difference with notifications on both devices? Okay, thank you for the super chat, Zach. I appreciate that level of support. In terms of the differences with notifications on both devices, okay, I don't know if I got there necessarily, but I'll go ahead and jump in. The notifications are actually usable on Android Oreo 8.1 or even 8.0 compared to iOS 9, 10, 11. Like I have declared notification bankruptcy with iOS. It's just it's like this never ending. This is like in the past hour. Like, and these are the same kind of notifications I get on the Android device. Not only are the notifications more rich, but because of the API, the developers are able to have, I guess, more control, more granular control over what happens in the notification center. They are not doing these same things which they would likely do on iOS if they had the capability to do it from within the API. But I never feel overwhelmed by the notifications in Android, and I get all the notifications I need, and I don't even turn on notifications for every single app. I can't on either one of the devices, but they're cleaner, easier to manage, in terms of design, cohesive. I believe, far more responsive, far less klutzy, and now with Android 8.0, Google allows for even more granular notifications. So this is another thing that advantaged Android over iOS. iOS is like, okay, you can either toggle notifications or you don't. But Android now has the ability to, within the app, more easily get to the settings for, as long as the app enables it, what kind of notifications you want. Now, yes, that is possible to do within an iOS app. It's just not as readily configurable as I found it to be on Android, specifically as it's tied in from at the system level. So I just find Notification Center to be an absolute mess and a nightmare on iOS. You asked, I answered. We have the next point I wanted to make. If I've lost my place on the list because I was answering that question, happy to do that. Gboard is an insanely better, more accurate autocorrect, or it has a better autocorrect than does the Apple keyboard app. Now, that said, you can get Gboard for iOS. That said, third-party keyboard support on iOS is like, it works, but it just doesn't feel as native, as clean. Not to say it's easier to use or less easy to use, but I just find the Google services really, for the most part, figure out what it is that I want to do. It's in terms of selecting words and correcting words. I think that the Gboard does a better job than the default keyboard on iOS. So that's what I want to stick to. I want to stick to the defaults. I know you can install different things, but honestly, that's what you got to do. If you want something like Gboard on iOS, install it. Most people are just going to use a default app. I do see just this random comment out of nowhere saying I missed the daily vlogs. There's absolutely nothing to miss. Head over to geekfamilyfun.com and become a patron. Hey, if you say you miss them, put your money where your mouth is. Google Assistant, I will note, is largely more useful than Siri. Not only is Siri a sex panther, working 60% of the time, all the time, but Google's just nailed even the voice. And I believe this is even with a recent update to the voice that they're using for Google Assistant. It feels more natural. less harsh, very much like a person. The Google Assistant voice is more natural. And the Google Assistant itself is, for the most part, more useful. Not precisely. I mean, obviously, nothing's 100%, but it is improving, as should be Siri. But out of the box, Google Assistant really whips the Siri's ASCII. That's a thing. I don't know if you know that's a thing, but it's absolutely a thing. The need, of course, for Assistant comes up now and again, when I'm wanting a routine task or asking a question. And even, if it does push me to the web, that's a more seamless transition than it is with Siri. So Google Assistant, I'll tell you, in just about every way, it has been fantastic and fantastically better in just about every way over Siri. And there have been maybe some minor differences between the two, but if you had a choice to swap out Siri, you would want to take that advantage of that and probably go with Google Assistant. Voice dictation and text translation is usually more on point compared to iOS, and that's something that I use all the time in every app. Press the microphone button, blah, 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 blah. In fact, they made a change in iOS 11 that really aggravated me, where you press the mic icon on the, I can pick it up, mic icon to dictate, and it, number one, it takes longer to dictate on iOS, but when you're done, it doesn't go back to the keyboard for you to correct things. It stays on that voice dictation screen, and that's really annoying because of the workflow. You're able to jump right to the keyboard and continue, or press the button and toggle it again. I like the way that Google does it. It works insanely better, and we're talking about productivity stuff, stem to stern. The voice dictation and the text translation, far more on point by default. Again, we're talking default, out of the box, compared to iOS. And some things you can change and some things you can't. But then you got to ask yourself, well, wait a minute. Well, you may say, well, I got all Google software on iOS. I use all Google software, right? Well, if that's the case, why are you on Apple's device at that point? If you're relying on Google Maps and Google Assistant, let's say on iOS, which you can do, the Gboard, this Google, that Google, the other Google, you kind of have to ask yourself, why are you still swimming in what? That is definitely not me. I wish. You're getting your Pixelbook tomorrow? Jamar D is. I don't know when mine's coming in. It was supposed to be here today. Not that I'm angry, because I got plenty of things that I need to be doing. Another thing that I've not yet used, but I've got to figure out when I'm going to use it or how I'm going to use it, because I'm still mentally not there. But there's split screen possibilities on Android, but specifically on the Pixel. So if I open up the app screen here, we'll go Discord, and I hold it down, and I move it up. There's that, and then the bottom one, let's see here, I guess I'll go to my Keep, which are like my Post-it notes or whatever. So if I've got my Discord up there, and I got my Keep down there, and I can scroll here, and I can scroll there, it works in landscape or in portrait mode. So this is really nice to have split screen right there on my phone. No such split screen in iOS outright. Honestly, I'm not someone who's going to use it much either, Jamar. But I know that the fact that it handles itself very well, it's a value. It's an extreme value. Picture in picture is seemingly more native on the Pixel 2 XL, more so than iOS. On iOS, you can do a picture-in-picture while you're within the YouTube app, and you can continue playing in the background. But if I wanted to do that on, let's say, on Android, what would happen is I would open up the YouTube app. Now, it may go split screen. I'm not sure here. Oh, whoa, that's a weird thing. Taking a screenshot. I just ran into a snag. It's because it was in split screen. Okay. I will report that bug to Action Launcher guy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to live stream me. Okay, so now I'm back on the home screen, swiped up. You see that little guy right there? See, he's big. I can tap and I can move him up there. I can click him over there, kick him over there, swipe him down there. That's me streaming. And then of course, if I want to go full screen, I just go full screen and I'm back into the YouTube app. So that is nice to have PIP system wide. That is something you could use. Not if you couldn't get past the idea of using a split screen. I think a PIP is something that iOS users would want. Could it happen? Yeah. Is it going to happen iOS 11 over the next year? Very doubtful. I will note another thing in terms of pixel positives. Reports are suggesting that they're fixing some shortcomings in software within weeks. And I did mention this at the top, but I think this is important to reiterate, if only because Google has had relatively transparent community support. So they got these support forums, the product forums, and they're really interacting with people. And I think that it shows that they're listening. And the fact that with at least two of the really kind of, I'm going to say show-stopping bugs, certainly for me, the fact that they're addressing them makes me happy. The fact that they're pushing forward and they're saying within weeks makes me happy. I'm going to hold their feet to the fire. They said within weeks. That could be 8 weeks. It could be 10 weeks. It could be 2 weeks. We don't know. What I would appreciate is like a monthly type of rollout, so then I knew that I could count on something. That said, I'll take weeks. If that's what they're saying, they've identified it as something as a software bug, like the microphone in the video the video recording feature of the default camera app, fixing that, addressing other shortcomings that I've very well outlined before now. I've found that having the transparent community support and saying that they're working on fixing these shortcomings in software makes me feel confident that the Pixel 2 XL is, well, number one, it's my go-to Android device. And now that I've said that, let me go ahead and I've got my list of other things that I could easily go through, but I want to make sure I give credit where credit is due. We had a few people who helped make the Pixel purchase possible, and I do appreciate that. These people have pretty much all covered the Pixel 2 XL after all the fees and everything. And I don't know if Diana's still going to be using hers. Keep trying, but we gotta have a cutoff point here this week. So I want to make sure I give all the Pixel sponsors their due. These are all the people who super chatted, as well as the people who backed us on go.tagjag.com/device fund. I really appreciate all the support. You helped make the Pixel 2 XL happen. The community helped make it happen, and I've mentioned this more than once. I told them as a bonus they'd get their name in at least one Pixel video. They've now had their name in like 4 or 5. It's a nice little bonus. This little this credit scroll, as I call it, right? So I'm about to dive into my list of iPhone positives, and before I do, because there are certainly ways that I think the iPhone 8 Plus tops the Pixel 2 XL, but what I will tell you is that I have not yet made the switch outright. I'm carrying both devices, not around the home, but when I leave the home, I am carrying both devices. I don't know why I'm so nervous and why I'm holding back from not just switching from the iPhone to the Pixel device outright. I don't think anything bad is going to happen. This is what I want to say. It's probably what I should have said at the top of the video. I am, by and large, reaching for the Pixel first. When I have a choice, when two of these devices are sitting in front of me and I need to do one thing or another, I jump to the Pixel first. And not just for a productivity thing, but even for, like, let's say just taking a picture. I know that the Pixel is going to take a good shot the first time, not the second time, not the third time, the first time. And so I'm happy that I'm able to do what it is that I need to do from either device. Then it comes down to which device is more comfortable for me in relation to software. Now, you'd think that after using iOS for 10 years, I would say iOS. But I'm telling you, Android Android 8.1, let's say, for argument's sake, specifically on the Pixel 2, or the 2 XL, is a far more compelling software experience than what I've experienced with iOS 11, specifically on the iPhone 8. And we're talking like the latest betas and everything. So I'm reaching for the Pixel device. What's stopping me? I think maybe it's just waiting to see what Google patches or if they patch these pending issues. For example, the video that I've recorded and I've shared on social, you've been able to hear it. Very often we'll have audio problems because they've got something going on with the software algorithm or specifically the compression they went with the microphone on the Pixel 2 and the Pixel 2 XL. This is one thing they say they're going to be addressing. I don't want to be out somewhere and, oh, look at that. My TLDR notification came in. So in about a half hour or so, I'm going to be streaming live on the other YouTube channel. Thank you for reminding me, YouTube. I hope you turned on notifications. Yeah, I turn on notifications for my own channels. That way I know they're working. So thank you everybody for supporting this Pixel 2 XL. I do appreciate it. There's your credit. Now let's move on to the iPhone 8 positives. Okay, gotta give the iPhone 8 its due. I've definitely experienced jank on the, well, actually, this goes on the Pixel. Sorry, this should have gone on the Pixel. I've experienced less jank, though there is jank, on the Pixel 2 XL over the iPhone 8 or the iPhone 8 Plus. Less jank. So if you were curious about that, I meant to put this in the other column. Less jank on the Pixel 2 XL versus the iPhone 8 Plus. So I found, and this is also something that I guess Google is kind of possibly going to be addressing in the software update. Sometimes the screen, when I'm tapping on it, sometimes there's a mistap, or just it doesn't really tap properly. This is something that others have reported that they apparently are going to work on it. I don't think it's a digitizer issue, but that is to the iPhone's credit. Taps are always taps, right? I mean, there's generally not been an issue. I've had mistaps before on any platform, but for the most part, I would say that the iPhone out of the box without any software updates hasn't had as many mistaps in certain places that I've had specifically on the Pixel 2 XL. Not all the time, but just every so often there will be mishaps. Pez Liz came in with a super chat. Yay to Power being back. Fingers crossed. Well, knock on wood. Touch wood. You don't want to push your luck. The iPhone 8 Plus, of course, takes stellar video. The video mic right now, without the software update from Google, is really tinny on the Pixel 2 XL, and that makes me not want to record video on it unless I'm using a third-party app like Open Camera, which is fantastic, with the toggle allowing me to use the mic, an external microphone, and I've used an external like a Rode. It's just a lavalier mic, and that works. So if I think, if anything, if I'm out and about, I may have to travel, and if I do switch to the Pixel 2 XL here, in the interim until a software patch comes down the pike, I'd have to carry that microphone. Not the case with the iPhone 8 Plus. The video quality is spectacular. In terms of the actual video itself, I think it's a wash, but I found that I should have put this in my Pro Pixel column. The video tends to be a bit more steady. Even photos tend to be a bit more steady on the Pixel 2 XL, like the kind of compensating for handshake versus the iPhone 8 Plus. But I did mention that the photos generally are better the first time around on the Pixel 2 XL. So that kind of plays into the same concept. Especially when you've got a moving child in a low light situation, you're going to have some amount of blur. But I found less blur in those shots on the Pixel 2 XL. Photos aren't as vibrant on the Pixel compared to the iPhone. So this is something that I did point out in an earlier video comparing the iPhone 7 Plus camera to the iPhone 8 Plus camera. And that's not bad. It's not good. It just is. I like having those vibrant photos. I also think I would prefer truer to life colors. So the way I feel about that is that I can always, in post, bump up the saturation. I can't always take it back. I can't dial it back as easily, unless you're shooting in RAW, and I don't think RAW is a native option. I may have to use a different camera app for RAW photos if that's possible on the Pixel 2 XL. I don't shoot RAW all that often. But I'm just talking about just simple shots, point, click, boom, done. But the photos aren't as vibrant, and that sometimes is more clear in certain shots than the other. But that said, I would prefer more photorealistic shots than oversaturated shots. I would prefer a more natural screen color than an oversaturated screen color. And the screen color, honestly, this is what some people have slagged the Pixel 2 XL for this, saying that the colors look flat and dull. Maybe, but I guess moving from an iPhone 8 Plus to a Pixel 2 XL, I didn't find this is without vivid mode on. Just the regular old screen without any kind of vivid boosts or anything seems fine. I'm not complaining at all. It's working in terms of like what I see. I don't see, oh, that just looks so dull outright. I try to look and see, like if I'm taking a photo and then I look at you got to watch out because the screen temperature is going to be different. I try to remember what's the color of this the sky right now, what's the color of these leaves, etc. So when I get back to a neutral machine like this desktop computer, I can compare those shots side by side and get a better idea of what worked well, not just what looked nice on the screen when I took the shot, but specifically on a neutral system. And sometimes that's really hard to judge, but I felt that that's certainly the photos. If you're looking for oversaturation immediately, I think you're going to be happier with an iPhone 8 Plus photo over a more, I guess, seemingly photorealistic shot on the Pixel 2 XL. I don't have any concerns over the longevity of this LED screen. I like LED screens. They're clean. They're efficient. These work. These work insanely well. I have, in stark contrast, rather large concerns about the Pixel 2 XL screen. I'm worried not just about potential burn-in with OLED. Image retention has certainly been prevalent on this screen, as you see in a lot of OLED screens. I'm worried about burn out of the pixels on the Pixel or the Pixel 2 XL, and the general feeling that I'm not getting the best screen I could possibly get on a Pixel 2 XL. The screen, I think, on the iPhone 8 Plus is a better screen, even though it's LED. I don't mind it. I like it. It's clean. The colors look clean and flush, and they absolutely do not on the Pixel 2 XL, especially with like a darker background, especially in lower light. Like LG has done a rather lackluster job. That's giving them a lot of credit, saying lackluster. LG really got some inferior display tech, dramatically. So I had to say it. The iPhone 8 screen is certainly better. What will I miss most about the iPhone? What will I miss the most? That's a good question. I think that I feel I can install an app on the iPhone and put it in a folder and not have to worry about it. Now, I know I can hide apps in certain launchers on the Pixel 2 XL. I know I could have folders on the home screen with all the apps and all the shortcuts and everything on the Pixel 2 XL. But I am concerned that I'm going to install too many apps. I know this has been a problem for Android in the past. I'm playing it very conservative with apps on the Android device, because I don't know how that's going to play into battery life or caching, or what things are possibly doing on the system, as well as various system hooks, because I find that maybe this is another thing that I'll miss on iOS. I think the share sheet on iOS is far more elegant, far more configurable, far better in just about every way on iOS over Android. The share sheet, which I use almost hourly. You got a link, you want to share it, you pull up the share sheet, and you know exactly what you're doing. The share sheet situation on Android Oreo 8.1 is an absolute catastrophe. Like, you've got recent contacts that you don't really contact recently suddenly pop up in the middle of you browsing the other things that you can't necessarily hide. Like, if I go, for example, okay, I want to share the video that I'm doing live. Share. So this, number one, this share sheet is not the system share sheet. This is different. This is this is a YouTube native share sheet. So if I wanted the system share sheet, I'd go, let's say, into Flamingo, which is my Twitter client. Let's go home. Let's do that. Tap it. I'd tap that. Share. So there's the system share sheet. So it's different. So I can share with all these contacts. I don't contact half these people on the platforms that says I contact on. So I scroll up. I'd never use Gmail, so if I don't want to use Gmail, I'd have to delete the Gmail application. And it's not that I can pin that app, but I can't hide that app from this list. And if I could, how would I get back to it? So I pin Messenger, because I use Messenger. I may pin Tweet. I may pin Inbox. But it's just a mess, because I wouldn't want half these things in there. And in order to get rid of them, I'd have to uninstall the app. So yeah, the share sheet, I think, is one thing I missed. Thank you for the super chat, Liz. Another super chat from Champ says, what are your ecosystem plans long term? Honestly, I'm not changing that much. It's a great question, but I've lived between ecosystems. I've been flexible for a number of years for good reason, putting me in a better position to be mobile. Being able to try different devices. So I never painted myself into a corner. Certainly not with a messaging platform. Yeah, that's a catastrophe waiting to happen. Whoosh. So, I know we've got some uninformed people who are watching and suggesting that you could do certain things, but you're answering questions I haven't asked. You're suggesting problems that I haven't suggested need to be solved. You're talking about a different situation. So keep what I'm saying in context, please. I know you can hide apps in launchers. I'm not talking about that. In fact, I think I even mentioned that. So thank you for tuning in and listening. Okay, the next thing I have on my list, I guess I haven't run into this problem as much as I thought, but finding alternatives or new app equivalents, I'm a little concerned about. Not so much concerned anymore. I've pretty much been able to find everything I needed to find, and in some cases may end up migrating to better solutions, better platforms. I did use Android Pay today. That was nice. It was clean. It was effective. In fact, it was almost too easy. I was a little like, wait, did I do it right? Is that safe? Was that okay? But yeah, it worked out. It worked out quite well. I bought a Star Wars toy. I bought the boxed version of the Resistance A-wing that Jedi destroyed the box for, which I'm sad about because it was a good box. The box that I picked up now, yeah, it wasn't as nice. I mean, it'll work. I mean, as far as keeping it in the collection, it'll be better than most. But yeah, I used it. It was great. It was relatively seamless. But finding alternatives, not so much a problem. At least not for the apps that I've been looking for outright. I haven't had any problems if there wasn't already one available on the platform that I needed to replace. The funny thing is, and I think I've mentioned this before, I have Google apps installed on iOS, but I don't have any Apple apps installed on Google. So I have more apps or less apps or fewer apps on Android. I don't need as many. If I need to get back to an app, I figured I'll just bookmark it, and like, I want to download that app and use it, and then when I don't need it again, I'll just get rid of it. I do miss... Oh, this is one thing I miss on iOS, because I think iOS handles things better, especially with larger screens. When you're in let's say an app like... I'm just going to go into, for argument's sake, Tweetbot. Oh, did you see that? It crashed on me. Oh, wah, wah. Okay, let's try it again. Let's scroll to the top. I missed the scroll to the top. That's one thing I like on iOS. iPhone does that better. And another thing I like, if I tap here... Okay, let's swipe to go over. That's a nuance in that app. Let me see if I can find a better app to demonstrate this in. I'll load androidpolice.com. There we go. And tap a link. And then I'm going to tap another automatic reader mode. Automatic reader mode firing in Safari. It doesn't fire automatically in Chrome. It's buried under a flag, and even then you have to toggle it manually. And then even then the design of reader mode in Chrome is complete. It looks like a baboon's butt. So Safari handles itself better in that sense. So I've now tapped through a few links. With iOS, I can swipe to go back. 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 And that's incredibly convenient versus fiddling for the back button. So there are certain things that I will absolutely miss in iOS in general usability. But let me give you an example of how often that I've picked this up. Let's see how many app updates I have on iOS after not having looked in ages. 25 apps. That, for me, that's a lot. Like, usually it's like, oh, you only need 3 apps updated. But 25 apps? Holy jeebus. That's a lot. That is a lot for me. The next thing I have listed, I've experienced several inexplicable bugs, although some of them have been documented, and these are things that I hope to have rolled out in the Pixel, the first update. Now that the devices are out there and engineers are seeing them and they're getting bug reports and they're fixing things, I expect a lot of fixes to be pushed down the pike, just like you expect with iOS. But they're just new bugs on the Pixel 2 XL versus bugs that I already know exist specifically on the iPhone 8 Plus. But that's pretty much my laundry list. I mean, there are benefits to both of them. And some of it comes down to the type of user you are. In terms of notifications, I like the Pixel 2 XL. I like the Android. In terms of multitasking, app switching, and fluidity, I find it to be far more convenient and easy and clean on Android on the Pixel 2 XL. The fingerprint sensor unlock, it seems to be a little faster on the Pixel 2 XL over the iPhone 8 Plus. Although I would say it's a little more consistent on the iPhone 8 Plus over the Pixel 2 XL. Consistency in navigation, I believe that the iPhone, as I just mentioned recently here, I'm talking about swiping to go back, is a little more consistent. The iPhone is more consistent than the Pixel 2 XL with the software. Default apps, configuration, and value, I think there's really no advantage of either one, but I like the way that Google handles it, and that it decouples each app from the operating system, so that you can get constant updates throughout the year, not just with major releases that may not see any new tweaks. As long as things are relatively stable in those apps. So the default apps and configuration and value, in terms of how they work, I think Android handles things better. In terms of app exit to the home screen speed, it's a wash. They seem to both be just as quick with that. Web page scrolling jank. Safari is far smoother than Chrome, even with smooth scrolling turned on with the latest versions of Chrome and the Chrome derivations. But that needs to be fixed. Google has a big problem with that. Fred asks, hey, have you had any wonky experience with the Android's auto brightness? It seems like Android phones I've tried had weird jitter and behavior with the auto brightness. Yeah, auto brightness is not as smooth as it could. That is fair. It's different. And do I have auto brightness turned on? I can't remember. I may have turned it off. It was annoying me so much on the Android device, on the Pixel 2 XL. Let me check settings here. Swipe down because that's a configuration I have, and we'll go brightness. There's probably an easier way of getting to this, but you can search brightness level 100. Adaptive brightness. Yeah, I have it turned off. I did have it turned off because it had weird stepping. Like it'd go bright, and then I think what would happen is if I'm hovering over the sensor, it would suddenly change. But, as soon as the ambient light changes, then the brightness changes. And it seemed to get in the way more than anything. So I'll try toggling it on again. But yeah, that is true. It was absolutely different. But I just turned off the feature, so it just became less annoying. In terms of browser experience, I think a content blocker or even using plugins would go a long way. I know you can use third-party browsers on Android, but I really think Apple has a better idea with the default browsing experience. In terms of cohesive design patterns, I think the Pixel 2 XL seems like it's a more fully polished product at version 8.0 or version 8.1 or whatever than is iOS at 11.0 or 11.1. In terms of animations and transitions, far less jank on the Android experience with those animations than with iOS. And with iOS, you pretty much have to turn on reduced motion. Otherwise, it's an absolute nightmare. Chris Lee says, which has the better battery life? Couldn't tell you. Didn't measure it. Didn't care. I can get through the entire day without recharging the battery. I'm happy. I'm good to go. The default keyboard and typing speed, about the same. Although maybe I'm typing a little faster on Gboard, worrying less about mistakes and autocorrect kicking in sometimes. Landscape mode is a lot cleaner on the Pixel 2 XL than iOS is on the iPhone 8 Plus. Icons, I think Google needs to go a long way in terms of because each app is managed individually. They've got adaptive icons now, but they're not quite where they need to be. That's a new thing, and that's a thing that I hope to roll out because, one of the things, it's not jarring to me. I guess it doesn't bother me as much as I thought it would, but I currently have circle icons, and then I have square, rectangular icons, and then I have icons with no border, and I have icons with some border. I'm like, wow, okay, I want them all to be the same shape, and no matter which launcher I try, inevitably the developer has to support that type of icon shape in order for that to effectively work. In terms of performance boost with updates, it's a wash. The Star Wars app, this will be my last point that I was going to make as a wrap up. The Star Wars app, once again, works fantastically better on the Pixel 2 XL than it does on iOS or specifically on the iPhone 8 Plus. I've found that certain apps run just as quickly on this device as they do on this one. So, you don't think that you're getting an amazing device because it's the fastest one on the planet, on a spec sheet, on paper. Because when you've got an operating system that's just as responsive at a slower CPU speed and a slower GPU speed, what does that tell you? It tells you the software is far more optimized on one device compared to the other. Apple's still fumbling around in the dark in terms of polishing its performance with iOS. Ape Zone Entertainment comes in with a super chat. Thank you so much for that. I don't see any particular question, but now comes the time of this particular broadcast where I'm going to allow for open questions that aren't super chats, if only because we do have time, and I am streaming it live. After this, I'll be jumping over to youtube.com/LockerGnome. You should have received the notification for that. We do have a question here from the YouTube chat. Not going to do shout-outs. You get shout-outs with super chats. Have you tried Google FaceTime? Yes, it's called Duo, which, by the way, is cross-platform. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you expecting me to say that exactly? Did you think that you were going to get a dig in? You didn't. Not only is Duo cross-platform consistently being improved with every update, but it's free, yes. It also works better on mobile data than does FaceTime. Glad you brought this up. And it's also incorporated with your system dialer, at least on Android, not so much with iOS. It also allows you, as you're making a call or you're receiving a call, you can see a preview of the person calling you, or they see a preview of you without actually picking up. That's kind of neat. I kind of like how they did that. Pepe says, switching from iPhone to Pixel 2 XL scared AF. Don't worry about it. Let me put it to you this way. I'm still kind of like, okay, I'm gonna wait. I want to see what the first software patch does. I'm nervous, but my patterns have been, I've been picking up the Pixel 2 XL over the iPhone. So my own behaviors are telling me I've already switched, even without fully switching. There's the question. Why is Apple late in adding new features? They have over a 2-year put most updated features that people want into an iPhone, like wireless charging, OLED, etc. Why does it take so long to get on iOS? iOS is a different beast. The iPhone is a different beast. Apple controls everything, and it used to be that Apple waited until they had fully polished the feature before releasing it. That's not the case anymore. It's just the opposite. The color reproduction on the Pixel 2 XL is more real to life than the iPhone 8 Plus. I guess I don't know. I haven't seen that outright. It's difficult for me to judge because I don't have any like color calibration tools. Is there a good stock app on Android? Probably. I just don't know what it is. Maybe. Well, no, Google doesn't make one, but there are like so many default apps to be had. You could give them a shot. Not non-default apps, but like third-party apps, so long as they're trustworthy. That's something that does make me nervous about both platforms. But I think that the value of Apple is that it just feels like you're guilty before proven innocent. But with Google, it's the opposite. That concerns me about, really concerns me about downloading a lot of third-party apps. A lot of them. Unless they are known quantities, unless they've been around for a while, it would concern me, because even, with their scanning services, they could certainly pick up something after the fact, and that would really concern me. Absolutely. Does Allo finally support SMS? I don't believe so, but it is cross-platform. I don't use it because I don't know a single person on it outright. So even if I did, we'd probably be using some other kind of messaging app. Zach Brajawi asks, are there any iOS exclusive apps that you will miss? Not really. I mean, I could find an equivalent pretty easily. That's not a big deal. For me, at least. It's maybe for you, but, I guess it's not a stopping point for me. I could look at, my iPhone here and see. Yeah, let me see. I have a couple Apple folders, actually, the default one and the non. Okay. Oh, the Apple TV app, yeah, because then I can control it with the phone. I wish Apple would release an Android version of that. They should. They'd sell more hardware that way, that's for sure. They won't. I don't use iMovie. And honestly, that Adobe app, the Adobe Clip, nice app. That was a great recommendation from TLDR last night. Really, really nice. Won't miss iTunes at all. Won't miss reminders, won't miss notes, won't miss news, won't miss health, won't miss weather, won't miss contacts, won't miss podcasts, won't miss iTunes Store, won't miss FaceTime, won't miss calculator, won't miss clock, won't miss files, won't miss compass, won't miss iBook. Yeah, it's like, no is the answer. Like, these are non-issues to me. Like, will I miss Apple Maps? No, Google Maps works just as well, if not better in some ways. So, yeah, it's a good question. Yes, mobility today. I do know that Google's fixing that. I think I mentioned that earlier in the broadcast. You may be late to the broadcast. But they're theoretically fixing a lot of the bugs that I've run into. Maybe not all of them. What do I think about Google Photo Scan? I've used it. It's iOS and Android. Don't use it all that much because I don't scan photos outright, but I tell you what I did like a lot. If I unlock the device here, oh, finger moving so fast I set the place ablaze. What's nice is that you can basically long press on the Drive app. Oh, I must have installed a new app. And then go scan, and then it jumps you right into the scanner for Google Drive, and I can scan PDFs directly to Google Drive. I'm like, whoa! So I don't need to install a third-party app. It's just integrated. It's seamless. I'm like, wow! That was nice. I used it. Some photo scans, a third party, or it would be a Google app, but you could effectively use it to scan old photos, and then it does the conversion and cleaning up and everything like that. So, oh, you finally subbed today. Well, thank you, Mobility Today. I do appreciate it. The name did look, or the handle looked somewhat fresh and new. Anybody can join the chat. It's easy to do at any time, day or night. Head over to either twitch.tv/Chris Pirillo and become a sub. And then you can join Discord chat. The instructions are on my profile page. The link is in the video description. Then, of course, you could either do that and or go to patreon.com/Chris Pirillo and sub to me. Or, I'm sorry, you become a patron there and get access to Discord chat. You can do one or the other or both. And Discord's open for you. And what's nice is that there's really activity going on just about any time, day or night. I can jump in and I can't even keep up with what everybody's talking about. And I tell you, not everybody thinks like me in here. That is for sure. There we go. I'm satisfied enough with what it is that I've got the stage set for, and I'm certainly still looking for any kind of recommendations as we continue to go on. I want to make sure I copy this down. So I make sure I have it. Oh yeah. Go.tagjag.com/free points. Go.tagjag.com/free points is what you can use on iOS or Android to get free stuff. If you want free stuff. Now maybe you don't. Maybe you like paying for everything. I don't. I like getting free stuff. Who doesn't? Go.tagjag.com/free points. You earn points. You exchange them for gift cards. You pay for things. It's easy to do. I did see a comment come in. It was hidden for some reason. But it says, I don't know why I don't just sub to you. I've watched every single one of your videos for the past month. Yeah, I don't either. Just do it. You can even do it for free if you use your Amazon Prime account connected to your Twitch account. The reminder I have to put, the caveat to that is you have to manually re-up every month if you do the free sub on Twitch route through the Amazon Prime connection. So that's just an FYI. It's a big FYI. I've heard him talk about that. Thought he would try it for the translate feature. Wait, what? What translate feature? Oh, I don't like earbuds, yeah. Nothing. I don't like sticking anything in my ear. So not a big fan of that. Everyone else is, but I'm like, no, I'm good. In fact, I was happy that the Pixel didn't come with earbuds that I wasn't going to use. Thank you, Google, for that. I've just chuck them. Like, whew. I've never found in-ear anythings that I've liked. They've always perturbed me. Someone asked, which phone has better speakers? Let's see here. Let me make sure I got that. Between the two, in terms of uniformity, I think the sound in uniformity, in terms of the bottom and the bottom and the top speaker, the iPhone 8 has uniformity. That said, I think the speakers sound better on the Pixel 2 XL. Like, I don't feel like I have to turn down the volume, like it's too shrill. And I've had that issue with the iPhone 8. Like, wow, I'm listening to the song, I'm like, I gotta turn it down. It's too tinny on the iPhone 8 versus a more rich sound on the speakers on the Pixel 2 XL. The discrepancy is they actually diminished the decibel level on the top speaker by about 10 to basically because apparently it was causing the phone to shake or vibrate or something that would have caused an issue. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in to tonight's broadcast. If you did, thank you for turning on notifications. Thank you for remembering to like this video. That's a big deal. Like, people watch the live video and they're like, oh, that was great. I know I forgot something. Oh, yeah, to like the video. I know I forgot something else. Oh, yeah, to turn on notifications so I can be made aware when he's doing the next live video in this channel. I know I forgot something else. Oh, yeah, that's to go over to the other YouTube channel, youtube.com/LockerGnome, where he's going to jump into another live video stream, the Locker Gnome Daily Report that he does pretty much every weekday, and then I can ask him any question. We'll be taking super chats over there, of course. Thank you to all my patrons. Thank you to all of my Twitch subs. Thank you to you for tuning in. I love you. I do. I really do. And I say that in every video. And you know why? Because I don't think you're told that enough. Honestly. Oh, no, we're not doing this again, are we? I was going to end it a little early. Just a minute early. And then Fucho the Clown came in with tonight's final Super Chat. He gets the last word. Great comparison. Here's the last Super Chat with a corn emoji. So that's... We had a big fight last night. A fight. They were like one Super Chat after the other. They were all trying to get the last word in. But Fucho the Clown, whose name I can't actually say out loud because YouTube doesn't like that. Fucho the Clown says, here's the last Super... Ah, no, hang on. Zach Brajawi came in with the with a funny Super Chat message. The final Super Chat of the evening does not go to Future the Clown. I'm sorry you've lost it. The title goes to Zach Brajawi. Thank you, Zach, for supporting. Thank you for being in. Yeah, there's Chris. That's all fake money too, by the way. What am I wearing? I never wear button-down shirts. It's like a zipper. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I am going to start winding down. See you in the other YouTube channel. Thank you, Zach, for the final Super Chat, and Future the Clown for giving a good try. I love you. I appreciate you, but at this point, I'm going to leave you to your own devices. May the Force be... Oh, come on, Zach! Zach, you had the last one! You know what Zach just did? You gotta see what Zach just did. Hang on, Liz is going to screenshot. Someone's going to screenshot it. You gotta see it. I can't end it now. I can't stop it now. He came in with the final Super Chat. Just in case. I think it was safe, man. You were ahead of the game. At this point, I am going to leave you to your own devices. May the Force be with you.